Hey everyone, and welcome to Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Today we're going to be doing a Toy Story crochet kit that I got from Amazon. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are going to be doing characters off of the Toy Story crochet booklet. If you need links to this kit, I have an Amazon storefront. I have added the store that I purchased this kit from in my Amazon storefront. So go ahead into the description box below, navigate to it, and pick up the kit if you would like to make this for yourself. There's a lot of characters that we're going to do here. I'm going to do as much of them as I possibly can because I have obviously like a ton of other stuff that I really want to try to get out. Okay, so in this kit they give you all the materials to make at least Woody and Buzz. From there on out you have to go get the materials yourself for the other characters, which I think is kind of like, I get why they do it because it's already at a certain price point. If they added material for every single character, it would be a very expensive kit, but that should be an option at least. But then I can see the confusion if someone thought that they were getting materials for everything. I don't know. Anyway, I happen to have 2 totes of yarn, so maybe I'll have what I need to make the others. If not, I'm gonna have to go out and get my own yarn. But anyway, in this video, I don't show specifically what is in these instructions due to copyright. So if you want to make the characters of this booklet, I highly recommend that you go on Amazon to my link and get the kit yourself. What I do in this video is I help you read and understand the instructions, and then I do go through new stitches at least 3 times step by step. And then of course we do assembly together. If there's any kind of typos, errors, or places that could be cause for confusion, I do talk about that as well. But I've actually done previous kits from this company, and they're not bad really. So it'll be rare if I find something like that. All right, so the first character that we're gonna do is going to be Woody. So I'm gonna turn to that section, and then while I'm looking for that, just to let you know, if you need to speed up or slow down the video, click on the gear button in the corner. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you can lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. I get comments about people saying, why do I talk so much? Is because other people need more verbal help than you. So please be kind to others that need that help. I'm trying to make one video fit for most. And if that doesn't work for you at all, I think there's a QR code in that booklet that gives you their videos. So my way may not be the best way. You can always check how they do it. Alright, so we're going to do the head and body of Woody first, and then you're going to need the warm beige. So I'm guessing this is the warm beige. I hope it is, because there's a lot of colors in this kit, as you can imagine. Right, and then in this kit they do give you the crochet hook. Out of all and it's pretty much the same size hook for all the booklets. As you know, I did the Nightmare Before Christmas, I did the Frozen, and the Marvel ones, and they seem to have the same hook. Always keep your tools when you get these kits because you may need it down the road. Alright, so with the beige, warm beige yarn, we are going to start the body, and we're going to work with the adjustable ring. So what I like to do is take the spools that they give you and clearly divide this, separate it so that it's one loop. Sometimes it's really hard to see where that division is, but this will kind of help you make your life a little bit easier. And then what I also have here, I'm going to grab, I have a little thing here that I'm going to place in the middle, so that kind of gives it like an anchor, and then you can just keep pulling away. If you have the machines that turn these things into spools of yarn, that is actually best. But I don't have that because I don't have the money for that. Maybe someday, but I think this is fine. Alright, you just got to be careful with not getting it tangled. This book is so new that it is not, you know how you have to bend books back so that they stay open? Okay. Let's do the adjustable ring. So I'm doing this all for righties. Lefties are very hard to come by. Just use the opposite hand. I would say at this point request it if you need a lefty, but I honestly hardly have enough time to do that with all the kits on my list, so I do apologize. Alright, so we're going to wrap this yarn about 3 times around our finger like this. You're going to leave a little bit of overage so you can take your middle finger and just hold that end down. Then you can take this opportunity to straighten out, tighten or loosen these strands around your finger as you need, because we're going to take our crochet hook and we're going to slip it underneath the 3 strands like this. And then we're going to pull the hook back. You're going to hook this strand and we're going to slip it underneath these 2. So hook it, turn your hook sideways, and then slip it underneath the other 2 strands like that. Alright, so now we're going to yarn over. A yarn over is taking the feeder yarn here and putting it over the hook. So yarn over. Once we have that, you're going to hook this yarn over and we're going to slip it through this loop. So hook it and slip it through the loop. So now that we've done that, you can let go of your middle finger. You can slip the rings off of your index. And then we're just going to move on to the next steps. Let me gather up some yarn here. Alright, so for this next part, we are going to learn how to do a single crochet stitch. So to do that, we're going to stick our hook into the rings. We're going to yarn over, take the feeder yarn and put it over the hook. We're going to hook the yarn over, hook it, and pull it through the rings like that. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, take the feeder yarn and put it over the hook. And then we're going to take this yarn over and pull it through these 2 loops. So hook it and pull it through the other 2 loops. So now you should have 1 loop left on your hook. But we have completed our first single crochet stitch. So if you look closely, we have a front loop here and a back loop here. And if we look at it on top, it looks like a nice braid. Alright, so let's do another one. Stick your hook into these rings. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop. So you have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 2 single crochet stitches. We have the front loops here and the back loops here. You look at it on top and it's still looking like a braid. Alright, so let's do one more. Stick your hook into the rings. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop. So you have 2 loops. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 3 single crochet stitches. We have our front loops here. We have our back loops here. We look at it on the top and it looks like a nice braid. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do single crochet stitches at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing single crochet stitches on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the single crochet stitches required for round 1. Once you finish all those single crochet stitches, there is a set of parentheses at the end of the round, and inside the parentheses you're going to see that there's a number with STS, and what that stands for is it's going to be the stitch count. So after every round, when you finish, just to make sure that you're on track and you didn't make any mistakes, you can go back and count the number of stitches that you did, and they should match whatever is in that parenthesis. All right, so let me just finish my single crochet stitches here. All right, so now that I finished my single crochet stitches, I'm going to show you how to close the adjustable ring. So they call it the adjustable ring because we start out with a large ring, as you see right here, and then after we're done, the hole is going to be completely closed. So what you're going to do is take your hand and put it over the hook like this. You're going to take your index and thumb and just hold gently the stitches at the bottom of the ring here. So if your stitches are going this way, you just want to hold it down here, and you don't want to hold it too tight because we do have to pull this yarn through it. Now for the feeder yarn, you're going to just remove that off your finger. We're going to take our feeder yarn and tuck it away with our middle finger here, because we don't need anything to do with the feeder yarn just yet. What we are going to focus on are these 2 loops and this excess piece. Now, you can pull this excess piece all at once and then try to get both loops to disappear, but that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that one or both of them is going to bunch up, and you're going to have some yucky like wad of yarn here, and it's going to make your circle look messy. So what we're going to do is pull this excess piece, and we're going to watch to see which one of these rings goes in first. So pull on this, and then keep an eye out for which loop, and once you've identified which one had gone in first, you can stop pulling, and then we're going to focus on the loop that moved first. Now mine is this one right here. Yours might be different. Just whichever one went in, that's the one that we're going to focus on first. So what we're going to do is pull this end out of that loop. All right, make sure nothing is pulled out on this end. We're going to go on this end. So take that loop that moved. We're going to pull this end out, and as we do that, you're going to see the other loop start to disappear, and that's exactly what we want. So go ahead and keep pulling until that loop is completely gone inside your adjustable ring, like that. And then we're going to pull this excess piece sorry, all the way out until this loop disappears. So do that now. And once you've done that, there may be the most microscopic hole that the camera might not be picking up at the moment, but to make sure that that hole is completely gone, we're going to pull in the opposite direction and a little up, like a 45-degree angle, and we're going to pull this. You're going to feel it move just a little bit. You don't have to tug it real hard, you don't have to pull it real hard, just pull it enough till you feel some of it move, and it's going to stop. But that is essentially going to close any holes that are in your adjustable ring. So from here, what I like to do is I like to take these stitch markers. I can't remember in the unboxing if they give you a stitch marker, but if they didn't, I highly recommend that you go and get a pack of these. The more the merrier. This is going to help you keep track of how many rounds you do in case you have to stop what you're doing and do life or whatever. It also helps you do stitch count, and I'll show you how. But anyway, what I like to do is take these stitch markers, and I like to mark the last stitch I made from that round. So for round 1, we're going to take our stitch marker, and I'm going to slip it underneath the front and back loops of the last single crochet stitch we made. So that's this stitch right here. I'm going to slip it underneath the front and back loop. I'm going to turn this backwards so that I can see if I accidentally split the yarn. As you see here, I definitely did. You should be able to see a nice clear hole when you pull on the stitch marker, and I clearly split the yarn. I mean, you want to try to be neat with this because that is just going to help your project the more neat you are. So I'm going to pull it again. We see it's now nice and clear, which means you can close your stitch marker and be on your way for the next round. Again, you can go into my description box below. I did pin some stores that sell these stitch markers in my Amazon storefront along with this kit. Now, I have not purchased these stitch markers from those stores. I only pinned it because it's a high rating store. So you can either let me know if you end up purchasing the stitch markers through there, and then you know, let me know if it worked out well or not, because otherwise I'll remove it if it wasn't a good experience. But or you can just take the information, the name of what it is, because I say stitch marker, I don't know what the official name of it is, but you can take this to a hobby store or an online hobby store, or just venture off Amazon and pick whatever store you want to purchase these from. Mine have all been collected and kept from every kit that had them. So I do have a decent amount of these. So I haven't had or needed to have the chance to purchase more, but if I needed it, I definitely would, because these are lifesavers. Okay. So if you want to make sure what stitch you're on, this stitch marker also is helpful to use as a stitch counter, because if this is the last stitch of that round, all you have to do is count backwards, or, you know, in the direction backwards, count the number of stitches that you have, and then of course it has to match the number of stitches at the end of each round. Alright, let's move to round 2. So for round 2, we are going to learn a new stitch. Alright, so for round 2, we're going to learn how to do an INC, which stands for increasing stitch. And basically what an increasing stitch is doing 2 of the same stitch. In this case, we're working with single crochet stitches. So we are going to be doing 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So after the first round, this is always the case because when we close the adjustable ring, it bunches everything together. So you might not really know where to put your hook. This might be it, but this might not be it. It's really hard to tell. So to make sure, after the first round, we're going to count back the number of stitches required for round 1. And then that last stitch, you are going to put your hook in. This is just to make sure, because I've had experienced that pulling that adjustable ring closed definitely warped things to where I couldn't tell what stitch I was putting my hook in. Alright, so like I said, an increasing stitch is doing 2 single crochet stitches in this 1 stitch. So we're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. Then you're going to stick your hook back into that same stitch we just used. And we're going to do 1 more single crochet stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Oh wait, I didn't do that right. Hold on. Stick your hook into that same stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So if you look closely, we took that first stitch here, and you can see there's 1, 2 single crochet stitches coming out of it. We have our front loops here, our back loops here. It all looks like a braid all the way around, so that's good. Let's do this again. Stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in here. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. Then we're going to go back into that same stitch we just used, and we're going to do 1 more single crochet stitch. So yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So if you look closely, we used another stitch, and out of it comes 1, 2 single crochet stitches. We have our front loops and back loops, and it all looks like a nice pretty braid. One more time with you guys. Stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in here. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop so you have 2 loops. Then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. We have our first single crochet stitch done. Then we're going to take the hook and put it back into that same stitch we just used, and we're going to do another single crochet stitch. So yarn over and pull up a loop so we have 2 loops. Then yarn over and we're going to pull through those 2 loops. Final look, we have this 1 stitch here, and out of it we have 1, 2 single crochet stitches. We have our front loops, we have our back loops, and it all looks like a nice braid. So these are ways you can find out if you did it right or wrong. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do an increasing stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can go ahead and rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing an increasing stitch on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the remaining increasing stitches required for round 2. Again, check your stitch count at the very end using the parenthesis count. And then also we're gonna move our stitch marker, and I'll show you how to do that. All right. So now that we've finished our increasing stitches, count the number of stitches you have. We're also going to take the stitch marker and we're going to put it under the last stitch we made, under the front and back loops. Turn it to its back to make sure that you did not split the yarn. So I'm pulling the stitch marker and you can see right through it. So that's how you know that you didn't split it. So we're going to close this up, and then we're going to do round 3. So for round 3, we have a new situation here. Alright, so here we're going to learn how to read parentheses in an instruction. This is different from the stitch count. So in a parenthesis, when you have instructions, you can assume that that means you're going to be repeating what's inside the parentheses the number of times that the instructions tell you to. So whenever you see parentheses, after that you're going to see either an asterisk or an X. In this case, there's a number with times after it. So that's the number of times that you're going to repeat it. So now that we've understood how to acknowledge what the purpose of a parenthesis is, let's start looking at the instructions inside. These are kind of short, so it's not that overwhelming, but we should always just focus on the instructions before a comma. That's going to break it down and make it feel less intimidating. So the first comma, we have an INC. So we're basically just going to be doing increasing stitches, and that I've already taught you, so that should be doable. The next part we have is an SC with a number. So that stands for single crochet stitches and a number of stitches you're supposed to do. So I've already taught you how to do a single crochet stitch, so that shouldn't be hard to do. So now that we've broken down this parenthesis, you should be able to do the instructions inside them and repeat them the number of times that it tells you to with no problem. So hopefully that helps. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so after you finish that, you can use the parenthesis at the very end to check your stitch count. And then also we're going to take our stitch marker and replace it under the last stitch we made, front and back loops. Check to see if you've split it, close it up, and then we're going to do round 4. So round 4 is a similar case with the parenthesis. It's going to be combinations of increasing stitches and single crochet stitches. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we're going to explain the next rounds. Alright, after completing round 4, I'm going to replace my stitch marker under the last stitch I made. You can also take this time to count your stitches. Now let's talk about the next rounds. We have to do rounds 5 through 13, and it's all going to be the same instructions, so that makes it easy. The hard part is keeping track of your count. If you don't have stitch markers, you're going to have to get a paper and pencil and keep track that way, or use your memory, and mine is terrible, so that's never going to work. But if you do have stitch markers, it makes your life a lot easier. So if this stitch marker is going to count as round 5, all you need to do is get all the other stitch markers to count for all the other rounds. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I like to count twice. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, it's simple, like I said, because it's all the same instruction over and over again. So I know that I just have to do that until I finish up all my stitch markers. So I can stop and have lunch, I can, go to sleep, I can go on vacation, I can just take a break for a year, come back and realize, all right, well, I have to finish these stitch markers doing the same stitch. So that's what I mean by stitch markers. They definitely help you out. So I recommend that you go and get yourself a pack of these. You can check out again in my description box on my Amazon storefront. So I'm going to do these rounds in silence because it's basically the same stitches over and over again. There's going to be a situation happening here, and you're going to have to look out for it, where your project is naturally curling inward. Alright, and again, that's a normal thing to happen. The only problem is that this piece with the adjustable ring excess piece is on the wrong side of things. So this we'd like to hide, but if it's curling inward, somewhere down this road I'm going to flip my project inside out. I could do it now, but it's just, I don't know, it might not stay because it's small. And then this you want to hide inside the very bottom or center of your project and try not to crochet into it, because that will make it messy. But now we have the right side facing outward. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to do this in silence. Alright, so I finished rounds 5 through 13. This is what it's looking like now. Let's go to round 14 and we are going to learn a new stitch. So let me just go in here and gather up some yarn. If you saw in the beginning, I'm naturally a lefty, and for a second there I forgot what hand we were using, so I rolled up my feeder yarn on the right hand, and I'm like thinking something's not right. And I realized that I have the feeder yarn on the wrong finger. But for round 14, it's a little bit longer and more involved than the previous rounds, again to make it less overwhelming. What you want to do is separate the instructions in sections using the commas. So let's talk about the sections. The first section, we're going to be doing single crochet stitches, which is something we've already been doing. The next section, we're going to learn how to do a new stitch. And then the last section, we go back to doing single crochet stitches. So let us do that. Let's read the note in advance. I was going to read it after, but basically the invisible decreasing stitches, which is the new stitch we're going to learn, are going to be stitches on the front of the head. So we just have to remember that that's where those stitches are located. And the front of the head is where we're going to be putting the safety eyes, the eyebrows, the mouth, the nose. And in this case, it tells us how far apart the eyes need to be and what rounds they're going to be on. So it does say stuff the head, but what we're going to do is after we do round 14, we're going to put on the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, and the mouth. You want to do as much as the facial features as possible. I could read more and do the ears, because what you have an opportunity of is this cavity is open. You can use it to hide all your stitches and excess pieces fairly easy, so that there's not like, I mean, it's still doable if you even close this up after the fact, but it's just much easier. So I'd rather do it this way. All right, so let's do round 14. Go ahead with your single crochet stitches. Okay. All right. Now we're going to learn how to do a new stitch. This one is INVDEC STS, and what that stands for is invisible decreasing stitches. So unlike the increasing stitch, the decreasing stitch pretty much kind of divides stitches in half. I mean, not divides, but here, I'll show you. We're going to take 2 stitches and turn it into 1. So that's basically what it wants us to do. So let's stick our hook into the next stitch, but we're going to use just the front loops only. So previously I've mentioned that these are the front loops and these are the back loops. We're just going to use the front, and how you do that is we normally put our hook under both. Now we're going to put our hook under the front. So we're just going to come up from underneath and go in between this braid, going through the front loop only. So the back loop is just left alone. Now we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to stick our hook into the next stitch. Again, we're going to come from underneath. We're going to just go through the front loop. The back loop is left alone. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through 1, 2, 3 loops off your hook. So if you look closely, we took 2 stitches and we only made 1 stitch out of it. So that is a invisible decreasing stitch. Let's do another one. All right, stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to go from underneath and we're going to split the braid by going through the front loop only. Split it, front loop only. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through the loop, so we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to go into the next stitch. We're going to come from underneath and split the braid going through the front loop only. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So now we have another invisible decreasing stitch. We took 2 stitches and made 1 stitch out of it. Let's do this one more time with you guys. So into the next stitch, put your hook, come from underneath. We're going to split that braid and we're going to go through the front loop only. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to go into the next stitch. You're going to come up from underneath, split the braid, go through the front loop only. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through another loop to make 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. So 2 stitches into 1. If you want to look at it this way, if you look inside here, you can see that all the back loops have been left alone. Now that I've shown you how to do an invisible decreasing stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can go ahead and rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing an invisible decreasing stitch on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the invisible decreasing stitches required for round 14, and then we're going to go to the last section of single crochet stitches, and then we're going to start doing the face after that. Alright, so once you finish that, we're going to remove this stitch marker and replace it under the last stitch we made. You can go ahead and count the number of stitches to make sure that you have the right stitch counts. So now we're going to do the face, and what I like to do is I don't want to have this crochet hook dangling. It could slip off, it's heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the hook out, creating this huge loop, and we're making a huge loop so that it takes forever to accidentally pull the yarn out. So you can leave your hook anywhere out of the way. And now we can work on our face here. So let's pull out our little package of accessories. Okay, and I'm going to take out 2 of the safety eyes. Ooh, it looks like if you do the other characters too, you're going to have to go find safety eyes. I normally don't put these in because it is a choking hazard to the little ones, but I used to sew all the facial features on. It's just a lot of work, so I just caved and start using the safety eyes. If you use the safety eyes, I do recommend that you be careful with whom you give this to, whether it be a pet or a little one. You don't want them to accidentally choke on these pieces and they could come off. So, as I mentioned before, the invisible decreasing stitches are going to be the front. So this section here, this is all the front of the face. You can kind of squish it down this way so you can have a better visual of what the front looks like, right? Okay, now according to the notes, it tells us what rounds to put the eyes in. So what we're going to do is count the rounds from the top of the head. Okay, and then it also tells us the number of stitches that it needs to be separated. So we're going to do that. Now, in between the stitches, it's very easy to slip these in. These eyes are kind of small, and in my experience, they kind of slip through in between those stitches. So what I like to do is split a stitch. So you can either go in between the stitches, but I like to go through a stitch. That way, it's a little tougher to fall through in between the stitches because you're not putting it there. But I stuck that in there, and now I'm just going to flip this inside out so I can get to that end, because we've got to take our safety backing and slip it on, and you're going to hear clicks. So have it click a couple of times, or once. I'm going to try to do it one more time. It's too loose for my liking. This is hard. I'm not liking it. It's hurting my thumbs. All right. Well, it's as best as I can get it. Then we're going to put the other one in. And again, split the yarn. Split the stitch or split the yarn. That way it just makes it harder for it to come out. Okay. Okay. Now that we have that, we have to sew the eyebrows. So let's get the brown yarn, and let me just check that I get the right brown yarn, because there's two of them. Let me see. Okay, so it might be this one. I like how in the booklet, Yarn Used, it has all these fancy names for the colors, and then when they go into the instruction, it gives a simple brown. So I'm gonna guess it's the darker one. Wait, which one did I have? Yeah, the darker one. So let's get this. Okay, I'm going to cut a piece of this. And we're going to split this into two. I think each strand of this yarn comes in 4. So split it in half. It's going to be 2 strands per split here. Alright, then I'm going to take the sewing needle. And the sewing needles are metal. So be careful with that. If you're gifting this to a child or a younger one, you don't want them to poke their eyes out or, you know, have it stuck in their skin somewhere. So supervision is a must. Okay, and then we're going to thread this up. Now I'm going to skip the page here because the facial features are on the next page. and it tells you where to put all these things. You know what's crazy? It doesn't tell you which round to put the eyebrows in, but we can see the photo. So I kind of can see where we're gonna put this. I'm going to try to leave some of this so I can tie it at the end. Okay. You don't want to pull things tightly because we are stuffing this. I'm going to tie this. Not too tight, but just enough to secure your yarn. And then we can take the needle off. You can tuck the excess inside, and then we're going to work on the other eyebrow. Okay. Again, leave some so we can tie a knot. Okay, I'm going to try to arch this. And how you arch it is, I'm going to try to come up a little bit from the round and come up from underneath that brown there, right? Then I'm going to pull just a little bit, and we're going to come back into where we came up. And make a little loop around those two, and it's going to pull it upward, making an arch, as you see here. Okay, you can remove your needle. We're going to tie this together. So let's put this inside out. Find our little excess piece. Don't tie it too tightly, just enough to secure the yarn. Twice. Tuck in the excess pieces. And so now we have our eyebrows. This one is a little skeptical. It's like, huh? All right. Now we're going to do the nose, and I'm going to do that by taking the other end of this. So you have to find it. Here we are. We're going to cut off this piece. Thread up our needle. Then we're going to find out where we put our nose. All right. So, come up. We're gonna leave some yarn here so we can tie it. Now it says you can make multiple passes. The more passes that you do with this, the nose is going to get puffier. So here's one, and it seems a little non-existent, so I'm gonna do another one. So it's basically just gauging through your own eyes what looks better. Here's two, maybe one more. I don't know, maybe one more. Okay. So I put 4. We're going to flip this inside out, and we're going to tie our knot. Don't tie it too tight, just enough to secure the yarn twice, and then we can keep our excess pieces inside the head. So now we have our eyebrows, eyes, and nose. And then the last bit is going to be the mouth. For this, we're going to take some of the black embroidery floss. Cut it. Thread up your needle. All right. Then it says where to put the mouth. Okay, we're going to come up from underneath here. We're going to leave some yarn to tie a knot, and then it wants us to kind of do this angled smile. So let's go in it, and I want to make an arc again, so we're going to go into one of these stitches right in the middle. We're actually going to go right over the floss there, creating a loop right around it. So go back down to where we came up, pull, and it's going to create this like permanent arc. Oh my gosh, how cute. Are you serious? Flip this inside out. Let's tie a knot. Don't pull too tight, just enough to secure our embroidery floss. And leave the leftover inside the head there. So we have our face. All right, what's left on Woody's head here is the ears, the hair, and the hat. I am actually tempted to do the ears, the hair, and the hat so I can still have this cavity open and free to tie it that way. So I'm going to take a quick glance. I'm going to put this needle back. Quick glance at the instructions. You're not going to even know I'm doing it. And I'm going to let you know if we're doing the ears, the hair, and the hat first. Alright, so actually, this is a great opportunity to get the hair, the hat, and the ears done first so that we can sew them to the head already. And that way, when we stuff our head and close it, we don't have to worry about all these knots and stitches and stuff outside of the head. So what we're going to do, this loop is still long. If it got smaller. We're going to pull this more, make sure that this loop stays the way it is. If you want, you can put a stitch marker in between here, so if you do pull it, it doesn't go all the way through. But I'm going to go ahead and set aside this color for now. And then I'm going to go grab the brown, and we are going to work on the head. All right, try to split this in half. I'll put this over a little thing here, and then let's work on the hair. Alright, for the hair, we're going to go back to making our adjustable ring. If you missed how to do that, you can rewind this video back to the first one that we did. But I'm just going to go ahead and work on this now. Alright, so for round 1 we are doing our single crochet stitches, so go ahead and do that. Then we're going to close our adjustable ring. Get our stitch marker. Alright, and then we're going to move on to round 2. So for round 2, we are doing our increasing stitches. Alright, then we're going to replace our stitch marker, and I feel like I need to count my stitches because I got a little distracted there. So let me use the parentheses at the end of each round to make sure that you have the same stitches that the instruction says. Okay, so for round 3 we have a set of parentheses. So we know we have to repeat that a number of times. Go ahead and do that now. going to replace our stitch marker. And then we're going to do round 4. So we have the same situation of parentheses with some instructions in it. So we'll have to repeat that the number of times it tells us to. Place the stitch marker. Now for this next round, we are just doing single crochet stitches, so go ahead and do that. Right, replace your stitch marker, and then we're going to look into round 6, getting some yarn here. Now this one is a little complicated, and we are introducing a new stitch, 2 actually. So this is starting to curl in. I normally would wait again a little longer because I can still function fine this way, but we want to make sure that the right side is facing out. So we are going to flip this inside out. Make sure that that excess piece from the adjustable ring is tucked inside the middle of the hair. Don't accidentally crochet into it because it'll make it all messy. But let's look into round 6. So for round 6, let's learn a new stitch. This one is SLST, and that stands for slip stitch. So let me teach you how to do a slip stitch. We're going to go into our next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all the loops off your hook, and that is a slip stitch. Let's do another one. Stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all the loops off your hook, and that is a slip stitch. Now for this next part, we are going to learn a new stitch. So we are going to learn how to do a CH, which is a chain stitch. Now this is probably one of the most basic stitches in crocheting, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull this through the loop, and that is a chain stitch. It looks like one braid. It's made up of 3 loops. We have one here, one on the other side. We turn it on its side, you can see the back loop right there. So 3 loops to make a chain stitch. All right, so next we're gonna go into making a single crochet stitch. So let's go do that. Into the next stitch, do your single crochet stitch. All right, and then we got a set of parentheses where we are going to learn a new stitch. So in this parenthesis, let's break this down. We are going to learn how to make a double crochet stitch. So let me show you how to do that. All right, in this one we're going to do 2 in 1 stitch. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over again, pull up a loop, so we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over, you're going to pull through 2 loops, so we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So that was a double crochet stitch. Now it wants us to do another double crochet stitch, so yarn over, put your hook into that same stitch we just used. We're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop, so we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through 2 loops, so we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So here we have 2 double crochet stitches coming out of 1 stitch. Now for the next part of this parenthesis, we're just going to do another double crochet stitch. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop, so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and we have 2 loops left on our hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So now I've shown you how to do 3 double crochet stitches step by step. All right, now we just have to repeat our parenthesis. If you need help doing these double crochet stitches again, you can go into the description box and select the section that you need to replay. I'm just going to go in and finish the rest of this parenthesis. Okay, so after that we have do your single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to show you how to do a chain stitch again. So yarn over and we're going to go through the loop, and that is a chain. We have 3 loops to make a chain. Here's one, here's the other one. Turn it on its side and you have a loop in the back here. Then I'm going to show you how to do the slip stitches at least 2 more times. So go into the next stitch, we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all the loops off your hook. Again, go into the next stitch, we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all the loops off our hook. So that's the slip stitches. So now that I've shown you how to do a slip stitch at least 3 times step by step, whenever you see it again, if you need help, you can rewind to that part of the video. But let's move on with the rest of this round. So next we're going to be doing single crochet stitches. right? So what it says to do next is we're going to turn. So let me show you what that is. Let me just, I don't know if I need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let me add another stitch marker, and I'm going to put it under the last stitch we made. Alright, so turning is pretty much, here we see the front here that we did. Well, I don't know if this is the front, but this is what we're seeing now. To turn it, we just have to rotate it 180 degrees. So now we can see the inside, of course. Now for the next rounds, it says these are going to make the sideburns. So I can imagine we're going to be working very tiny. So for row 7, we have to do some chains. So go ahead and make those. And I'm guessing those are going to be the height of the sideburns. So what we're going to do now is some single crochet stitches, and I can talk about this in number because this is pretty universal. So when we have a string of chain stitches and we have to do single crochet stitches right after, we have to build the height of a single crochet stitch, and the height of a single crochet stitch is a chain. So we have 3 on here, which means we have to skip 1 chain to build the height, and we're going to stick our hook into the second chain. So again, this is pretty much universal, so you'll see this in a lot of instructions, but go ahead and stick your hook into the second chain from the hook. I'm just going to put my hook into the back hump because that's the loop that I would like to use. Again, a chain stitch, as I shown you, is made up of 3 loops. We have the left, the right, and the back. I like to put my hook into the back stitch, so it kind of preserves the braid. So see how we have our braid going on? Alright, so now we're going to continue on with our single crochet stitches. So go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go into our next chain stitch. Again, I'm going to use the back hump. This is the side profile. This is the front profile. I'm going to stick the hook into the back stitch, and we're going to do our single crochet stitch. I kind of split the yarn there. Try to hide it, but can't fool anything. Let's redo that. Do our single crochet stitch. Okay. So now we have something new. For the next part of row 7 instructions, we have something SK. This stands for skip. So we're going to be skipping stitches. So go ahead. We're looking at the stitches from the back. You're going to skip that stitch. Hold on a sec. Alright, so go ahead and skip that stitch. And the next stitch we have to do is a slip stitch. So I'm actually going to count here. Alright, let me see. I'm going to skip my stitch. Do my slip stitches. I've shown you how to do those. And then after that, we have to do some single crochet stitches. So go ahead and do that. and then they want us to turn, so go ahead and turn. We're going to do another 180 counterclockwise. All right. And just so that I know, I'm just going to put another stitch marker under the last stitch I made for that round. All right. So now we're going to do round 8. For round 8, we're going to do our chains, so go ahead and do those. All right, and then we're going to do the universal single crochet stitches after chains. So we're going to skip the first chain, put our hook into the next, and we're going to continue our single crochet stitches. Then we have our skip stitch, and then we have our slip stitches, oops, and then we'll do single crochet stitches after that. Okay. And then it says that we're going to be working the back of the hair now. So this is going to be rounds 9 through 12. What I am going to do is mark the last stitch of this round, and this is going to stand for round 9. I'm going to get more stitch markers. So 10, 11, 12. Gather up some feeder yarn here. Now it asks us to turn, so we're going to turn, and we're just going to build the height of a single crochet stitch, so we need a chain 1. And then we're going to do our single crochet stitches all the way across. All right, this is going to stand for round or row 10. We're going to turn, then we're going to do our height for the single crochet stitch, so chain 1, and then do your single crochet stitches. Right. This is going to indicate round 11. We're going to turn, build the height of the single crochet stitch, so chain 1, and then do our single crochet stitches. Okay. This is going to stand for row 12. We're going to turn, build the height for the single crochet stitches. So chain 1 and then do your single crochet stitches. All right. So now I've completed rows 9 through 12. We're going to do row 13. Let's remove all these stitch markers. I am going to use one to mark the last stitch I made. Gather up some feeder yarn. We're going to turn and then chain 1 for the height. Alright, so now we have a bunch of instructions to do skip stitches, single crochet stitches, back to skip stitches, and single crochet stitches before we turn. So let's go ahead and do that. See here. Okay, I'm going to place a stitch marker. I'm going to turn. We're going to chain 1 for the height. Then again we have skip stitches, single crochet stitches, skip stitches again, and single crochet stitches before we turn. Okay, so now we have to fasten off. This is how much brown we have left anyway, so I think I'm just gonna leave it all attached and I'm gonna show you what we have to do next. All right, so let me show you how to fasten off. So we're gonna go and yarn over and we're gonna pull through the loop and we're gonna pull all the way out. You want all that yarn to be pulled out. If you have way more brown left, you can trim it off, but I'm leaving this on because I need as much as I need to sew the hair on. But once you pulled it through the loop, you can pull and make this knot loop turn into a knot, and that's it. And then I'm going to remove these stitch markers. All right, so now we have the hair. I'm not going to sew it on just yet because I want to see the ears, and then of course we have the hat on anyway, so I think it would be easier to sew the hat onto the hair and then the hair onto the head. So I am gonna do, let's see what's next in these instructions. We're gonna make the ears, so we're gonna make the ears and then the hat last. But I'm liking it so far. I gotta check the video to see what time we're at because I try to keep these videos at least 2 hours long. Try not to be any more than that, but it has happened in the past. So we'll come back and do the ears. Alright, so let's do the ear. I'm going to take the hair and set this aside for now. We are going to be using that warm beige color, so it's still attached to the head, as you know. So what we're going to do is use the other end. I'm going to flip this upside down, put the head here. I'm going to grab the other end and we're going to work with this end. Alright, so for this, I think we're not doing any adjustable rings, so I'm going to show you how to cast on with the slip knot. So we're going to take our pinky, ring, and thumb, and we're going to hold one end all the way to the end as possible. Then we're going to take our index and middle finger and hold apart the other end. So you want to keep this very tight and this kind of loose. So what we're going to do next, you're going to take your two fingers, we're going to push up on the yarn, and we're going to turn it down to create this large loop. Then we're going to take our middle finger and index finger and pull the feeder yarn through that loop, creating a huge knot. Alright, so now all we do from here is tighten the knot. We're going to keep this pinched, this end pinched, and I'm going to tighten this knot as close to my thumb as possible. So I'm going to pull on this feeder yarn and make that close to the knot as possible. This is going to be the amount of waste that we use. So just to make sure that our knot is nice and snug, I want to take our little tail piece here and pull it out just a little bit to tighten up this knot a little more. You don't have to go too crazy with it. But now I'm going to grab the knot with my index and thumb, and then I'm going to make this loop smaller. So take your feeder yarn here, and we're going to pull that all the way to make this loop small enough for your crochet hook. Okay, and then we're going to slip in our crochet hook. Alright, so let's gather up some yarn here. Now for the ear, row 1, and it looks like this is the only row, we're going to be making some chains, so go ahead and do that now. Alright, and then once we have that, we are skipping some chains and doing some single crochet stitches. Of course, we are skipping the chain because we are building the height of the row, so skip one chain, put your hook into the second chain. I want to flatten this little piece down and I'm going to stitch around it so I can hide it in our stitches. But go ahead and make your single crochet stitches. We're going to use the same chain here. All right. And then, wow, I guess that's it. We have to fasten off and leave enough to sew. Now, this is a small piece, so going around the object is going to be a little small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap around generously around the ear 3 times to make sure that I have enough yarn for sewing. And then we're going to fasten off. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, pull that through the loop all the way out, and pull, and that is one ear. It's a little loose, but when we sew this to the head, I'm going to fix it. But I'm going to do the second ear off camera, and we're going to move on to the hat. So set this aside. We come back, the second ear is going to be done, we're going to start on the hat. Alright, so we've completed the ears. I'm going to take the head and the yarn, the warm beige yarn, and we're going to move this aside again because now we have to pull out the light brown yarn and slip that over here like this. because we're going to build the hat. So the hat actually is going to be the last piece that we're going to make for this video, and then in the part 2 we're going to continue with the rest of Woody. I don't know if we'll be able to complete him for the second video, but we'll find out. Alright, so let's do our magic. Sorry, I keep saying magic. It's normally called a magic ring. Let's make our adjustable ring. Forget that this brand uses adjustable ring. And again, if you need a refresher to do the adjustable ring, you can go into my description box and select the section for adjustable ring, and it will take you directly to it. And then of course I have the hat in its own section, so you can click back on that once you are done making your adjustable ring. But now I'm going to do the single crochet stitches required for this round. Alright, so now for round 2, we are doing our increasing stitches. So again, after the first round, everything's scrunched up, so you can count from the stitch marker back or the hook back if you don't have a stitch marker, and then put your hook into that last stitch, and that's where we're supposed to put our hook next. Alright, so now for round 3, we have parentheses, which we pretty much have done. So let's do that. Round 4, we've got some new stuff, so let's just complete round 3 first. Okay. Next round. All right, so for round 4, we have something new that we're going to be working on. All right, so what we're going to be doing is BLO, which stands for back loop only. So for this round and only this round, or wherever you see BLO, we're only going to be working with the back loop. So I've shown you the parts of a single crochet stitch. These are the front loops and these are the back loops. When we did our invisible decreasing stitch, I shown you how to get into the front loop only. But now, since we have BLO, I'm going to show you how to get into the back loop only. All right. So we're pretty much going to be doing single crochet stitches. So that's one thing we don't need to worry about. What we need to worry about is where do we put our hook? So what we're going to do is put our hook in between the braids here. We have the front loop here, the back loop here. You're going to put your hook in between the two of them and you're going to slip it back to the back loop only. So you see that? This is the back loop. The front loop is left alone. We're going to do our single crochet stitch like we normally would. And we're only using the back loop, so this front loop is left alone. Let's do another one. So stick your hook in between the braid. We're going to slip it back into the back loop only. Front loop is left alone. We're going to continue with our single crochet stitch like we normally would. And so here you can see that the back loops are used only and then the front loops are left alone. So let's do this one more time. Into the next stitch, we're going to stick the hook in between the braiding. We're going to slip it back through the back loop only. The front loop is left behind. We're going to continue with our single crochet stitch like we normally would. And now you can see we have our single crochet stitches on the back loop only, and we have a little line of front loops left alone here. So now that I've shown you how to do back loop only at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing the back loop only. But now I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these stitches, and then we're going to come back into the next rounds. Alright, so I've completed back loop only. Let us flip this inside out because it is starting to curl in. Again, we want the excess piece from the adjustable ring to be on the inside, so flip this inside out. When you do back loop only, it kind of naturally creates a crease. So this is going to be the top part of his hat. So you can see it kind of naturally creates this really sharp border, which is really great for a hat. But now that we've completed that, we're gonna explain the next rows. So we have rounds 5 and 6, and like we did previously, we're just going to repeat the rows. And I'm gonna get some more stitch markers, of course. Let me just gather up some yarn here. Now, the trick to this is that for the end of the 6th row, or round, we're changing colors. Oh no, I don't have any more brown. Are you kidding me? No, that can't be true. Hold on a second. Yeah, I don't have brown. No more brown. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. So if you remember, I did use brown for the hair. Apparently there's a strip of brown just for one row. Oh my goodness. Well, this is what we're gonna do. I'm going to talk you through changing to brown because I don't have a brown unless I go find brown somewhere. Hold on, let me find some brown. Alright, I did kind of find a brown, but it's looking fairly similar, and it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I'm sure if you have brown, use that, but I'm going to use this, so I'll be able to show you how to transition. Okay, so let me collect this here. And when we do rounds 5 and 6, we're going to go back to the normal front and back loops. We're not doing any back loop thing here. Now, for the last stitch on round 6, I'm not going to do. So let's complete rounds 5 and 6 with the exception of the last stitch of round 6. I'm going to do this in silence. All right, a lot of things happened there. I realized after the 5th round that I didn't replace the stitch marker at the last stitch of round 4. But I was counting my stitches, so I was able to put this one where it needed to be, and then I did round 6. And then I forgot that I'm not doing the last stitch, so we have to complete the last stitch. All right. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull the hook out. Well, let's leave it in there. I got a different way. We have to cast on with the slip knot. So take your brown. In my case, it's gonna be the similar looking brown you see here. Unfortunately. You're gonna take your ring, pinky, and thumb and hold one end very tight like we did before, and your index and middle finger we're gonna hold apart just like this. So we've already done this before, I'm just showing you again. Then we're going to push up, we're gonna turn down into a huge loop. Then with my middle and index, I'm gonna grab the feeder yarn and pull it through the loop, making a huge knot. And then I'm just going to tighten up the knot as close to my thumb as possible by pulling on the feeder yarn. And then just to tighten up the knot, I'm going to take this little excess piece and pull it just a little to get that nice and snug. And then take your index and thumb and hold the knot in place. We're going to make this large loop small by pulling on the feeder yarn to where you can fit your crochet hook. Okay, put this down for now. We're going to pick up our project again. We're going to complete the last stitch, so stick your hook into the last stitch. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. But now we're going to drop this light brown. We're going to pick up the brown, slip that onto the hook, gather up some feeder yarn. We're going to use this as if we did a yarn over, and you're going to pull through both loops. And we've completed the last stitch with the light brown, and then we're moving on with the brown here. So I'm going to replace this stitch marker under the last stitch we made. All right, and then we're going to move on to round 7. So for round 7, this is easy enough. Again, we're going to just do single crochet stitches, but we have to change back to the light brown. So I have left the light brown attached, and I'll show you how to switch back to that once we come back around. So go ahead and complete your single crochet stitches with the exception of the last stitch. And this yarn that I'm using, I think, is a Red Heart yarn, and it's the same size per se. Each yarn has like a gauge size. It says the same, but I think it's not, you know, because you can already feel it in the yarn, and then when we crochet this, you can clearly see that this one is a lot higher in row than the previous ones. So I think because Red Heart is a higher quality of yarn compared to whatever they're using. So just be mindful that if you do use your own yarn, try to keep it the same size, not just based on number, but based on like touch, look, and feel. Otherwise, if you mix sizes, you're gonna have like kind of a weird lopsided project, like my hat is gonna look right now, but I can't help it, I have nothing else. All right, so we have to do the last stitch. So for the last stitch, stick your hook into the last stitch. We're gonna yarn over and you're gonna pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. We're going to drop this brown, pick up the light brown, and we're going to yarn over and pull through both loops off the hook to complete that last single crochet stitch. So now we are back to our light brown, and it's a nice clean transition. And what we're going to do now is we won't need the brown anymore, I don't believe. Okay, so what we're going to do is cut about 1 inch or so of the brown, and then we're going to tie this brown. I guess you can try using that little tail end. If you're having a hard time, you can tie it around the light brown a couple of times. I'm going to try tying it around this tail. Okay, don't pull it too tight because you are tightening existing stitches and you don't want it to look dimpled or anything. So just double knot it to secure the yarn. Okay, then we can continue on with the light brown. So now that we've done that, we're going to do round 8, and we are going to do something new in this round. Wow, I feel like this video has a lot of stitches. Hold on. Alright, so for round 8 we have FLO, and that stands for front loop only. And if you haven't guessed it yet, so all the stitches that we do in this round, we're going to use the front loop only. So now that we established that part of the instructions, the next sections we have parentheses, which we've already seen, and we're going to be doing increasing stitches and single crochet stitches. So let me show you how to use the front loop only at least 3 times step by step. So for the first stitch that we're doing, we're going to come up from underneath. It's almost like the invisible decreasing stitch that we did. We're going to come up from underneath. We're going to split the braid in half, going through the front loop only. The back loop is left behind. And we're going to continue with the stitch that we are supposed to do for this part. Okay, now let's go into the next stitch. We're going to come up from underneath. We're going to split the braid, going through the front loop only. The back loop is left behind. Let's continue the stitch that we have to do next. Right, and let me show you how to do a front loop only one more time. So into the next stitch, come up from underneath, split the braid, going through the front loop only. The back loop is left alone, and let's do the stitch that's required for this stitch here. Now let's take a look real quick on what these back loops look like, so you can see that they are left alone intact. Meanwhile, our stitches that we made are here in front. Now anytime you see a front loop only, just like we did with the back loop, how there's this automatic crease that makes a nice sharp corner here, it's going to be the exact same with the front loop only it's going to fold in the other direction. So as you can imagine, we're making the brim of the hat now. So now that I've shown you how to do front loop only at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing a front loop only. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this round 8, and then we'll talk about the next rounds. All right. After I finish the last stitch, I'm going to replace the stitch marker under the front and back loops of that last stitch. We're going to move on to round 9 and 10. So in fact, round 9 and 10 have the parentheses that we've already done a whole bunch of times already. And then for rounds 11 through 12, it's just straight single crochet stitches. So I'm going to complete in silence rounds 9 through 12, and we're going to come back and fasten off the hat. And then we're going to assemble everything that we have so that the head is complete. We're also going to stuff as well. Really excited about this. This video was not so tough as I thought it was going to be, but looking at that shirt part 2 video is going to be a doozy. So in silence. Alright, so I completed rounds 11 and 12, well 9, 10, 11, and 12, and we're going to fasten off. So we have a lot going on here. We're going to have to sew around the rim, and then we're going to have to sew the hat to the head. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go around the hat generously, maybe 3-4 times. I don't know how much yarn. Oh, I guess we have to stop here because it's going to be hard to sew with the knot, unfortunately. This one had a couple of manufacturing knots, and if you have those, you just have to try your best to hide them. If you have it at the end where you need to sew, that's going to be a little difficult because it's hard to pull these through with the needle. So I'm just going to cut this off. And hopefully whatever I was able to get is going to be enough to sew everything. So that's the unfortunate thing there. But to fasten off, it doesn't tell you to, but I'm gonna do this slip stitch because I like it. Because right now, the way that you see it, it looks like a jut out, and then fastening off would leave it that way. But if you do a fasten off, so if you go into the next stitch and we do our slip stitch, it's going to smooth it out. See, so at least kind of brings it back down, and then we can fasten it off. So yarn over, pull through the loop all the way out, and then we're going to tighten up the knot. And then I'm going to grab our needle, and I put it away thinking we didn't need it. I don't know why. Okay, thread up our needle. Oh. Okay. So now we're going to, it says to weave the yarn back through the stitches invisibly until the free loops. Well, I don't know exactly what that means, but it looks like we're going to be going in from one side of the braid out. See what that looks like. And then we're going to go back in the next braid from the inside here on this side, coming out. Okay, so just gauging, I think that's fine. And then we keep doing that. Because if you remember in the movie, if you've not seen the movie, definitely go see it. He's got the thread that wraps around the brim. So I'm just going to go ahead and go around. I'm not going to pull it tightly because I do want this loop to be a little prominent. And because this is all one color, it is going to be hard to see. So let's just pull this lightly. And we're going to do this till we go back around. Again, I really hope we have enough yarn. If not, I'm just going to cut another piece and use that. I normally, like I said, would try to generously go around the project. I would have done it 4 times maybe. So that it would be enough to go around the rim and then enough to sew onto the head, but that wasn't the case because we had a manufacturer's knot. And the way this is going, maybe I am going to have to get a new piece to sew the hat onto the head. So I'm not sure where we are now in time. Again, I like to keep these videos at 2 hours. I have a feeling I'm over, but we're gonna end this Well, maybe I'll check the time after I finish this hat. So maybe in the beginning of our next part video, we'll assemble the head and everything before we finish crocheting the next body parts. Okay, as we do this, the yarn is starting to spiral, so you just have to straighten that out. That's why I'm getting these kinks in my yarn. I would say though, if you have enough brown, try to do this with the brown. Okay, we are almost all the way around. Alright, so now that I'm back around, I am going to weave my way down to that round 8 where the front loops only were. So this is the back loops I'm working with now. And this might be enough, we'll find out. But I'm just going to put this through, and then we have that, because I'm not going to sew this right away. We've got to sew the hair to the head and the ears to the head, and then the hat, or at least place the hair over the head to see where we're at. We'll see. But anyway, let me go and check the time that we have, so to see if I can even do this in the same video. Alright, we are actually over 2 hours. So, in our part 2 video, we are going to put the head together and stuff it, finish the head off, and then once that is done, we are going to be moving on to the arms, the cuff, the leg, the boot, the belt, I guess all the accessories, and see what happens next. Oh no. I think we have to finish the body. Yeah. Okay, we'll be finishing the body. Strike all that. And then we'll see how many accessories we have to do. But it's quite clear that we're probably going to have to do a part 3 video. Again, these booklets are really fun. But it's a larger project than you would think. So a lot of people have this misconception that these kits take a short amount of time. They don't. It takes, clearly for me, at least 6 hours. If we're doing 3 videos, 2 hours each. and that's just a guesstimation. At any rate, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.